They expected outrage. Grief, perhaps. A formal complaint filed through the usual channels of the Galactic Confederacy, accompanied by performative speeches about peace and justice. But Earth said nothing. Admiral Vorthen of the Serene Ascendancy found the silence amusing. He reclined in his suspension cradle aboard the Ebb and Flare, watching the news feed scroll past with barely veiled contempt. "They've done exactly what I predicted," he told his adjutant. Retreated into silence. Humans are emotional, not strategic. They'll weep, maybe light a few symbolic fires and move on. But Earth wasn't weeping. Earth was quiet. Maria Chen's death had been clean, efficient. A single energy lance to the sternum, standard protocol when an unauthorized delegate breached the Serene Palace perimeter. The fact that her clearance had been valid was dismissed as a clerical error. The fact that she was unarmed, a decorated diplomat on a goodwill mission, was ignored entirely. Vorthen had ordered the footage sealed. No need to stir sympathy. In the core halls of a confederacy, the incident barely made ripples. A few species expressed concern, mostly the ones with fragile constitutions or closer ties to humanity. The Volari wept. The Ixtari issued a formal denouncement. The Draylans muttered something vague about consequences. But the Serene had always enjoyed a degree of untouchability. No one really wanted to challenge the status quo, not over one human. Back on Earth, nothing stirred. Not in the embassies, not in the trade union offices, not in the fleet. That was what began to unnerve them. 3 days after the incident, the human liaison station on Tolven Prime closed its gates. No explanation. No last-minute meetings. Just shuttered overnight with a polite message: Earth is reviewing its diplomatic commitments. Please stand by. 2 days later, every human representative across the Confederacy vanished from public view. Not just diplomats, scientists, traders, even entertainers. No goodbyes. No drama. Only absence. It was at this point that Serevan Cal, the Confederacy's high mediator, began to suspect something was wrong. He called for a special session of the Peace Council, urging caution and transparency. Humanity does not act impulsively, he warned the delegates. When they are quiet, they are not grieving. They are listening, preparing. He was met with polite derision. Earth had no significant fleet, no territorial ambitions, no history of military aggression. What could they possibly do? 1 week after Maria Chen's death, a formation of 12 human ships entered Confederacy space through the Marrow Gate. They did not respond to hails. They did not broadcast intentions. They flew in perfect silence, no weapons powered, no escort. They're unarmed, Vorthen scoffed, watching the fleet's trajectory. Ceremonial vessels. A mobile memorial, perhaps. Serevan Kel was not so sure. Humans do not bring their dead to your doorstep, he said quietly. They bring their judgment. The fleet did not stop. It moved past inhabited systems without pause. Past patrol checkpoints. Past warning satellites. Every system it passed fell dark behind it. Communication severed, surveillance blinded, as if Earth were dragging a curtain across the stars. The Confederacy began to panic. Emergency councils convened. Military analysts studied the vessel's trajectories. They were heading toward the Serene sector, directly toward Vorthen's palace world. Still, no declarations. No demands. The broadcasts resumed only once. A single human voice, carried on every frequency. Calm, flat, unmistakably deliberate. You killed one of ours. That was it. No threat. No ultimatum. Just a statement of fact. On Vorthen's command, the Serene activated their planetary shields and summoned their elite defense fleet. 70 warships, fully armed. They jammed long-range scanners, cut diplomatic lines, and powered every cannon they had. Let them come, the Admiral thought. Let them see what happens when primitives play soldier. But the human ships didn't fire. They didn't slow. They just passed through the outer defenses like they weren't even there, spoofing targeting systems, rewriting command permissions mid-transmission. Serene weapons refused to respond. Fighters launched and immediately lost control, crashing gently back into hangars like confused insects. Inside the palace, Alarms blared. Screens went black. Artificial gravity flickered. Lights dimmed, and for one heartbeat, every Serene felt something alien grip their lungs. Fear. Not war. Not chaos. Control. In orbit, one of the human vessels opened its bay doors. Not a weapon. A casket. Maria Chen's body, preserved in a glass coffin, descended through serene atmosphere like a silent accusation. It landed with impossible precision in front of the palace gates. The coffin didn't open. It didn't need to. Earth wasn't asking for justice. It was reminding the galaxy what the price of indifference looked like. The moment the casket touched down, every human ship vanished from Serene scanners. Instantaneous retreat. No message. No farewell. Just absence. Vorden stared at the screen, unblinking. "We didn't just kill a human," his voice cracked. "We killed the wrong one." On Earth, still no statement. No celebration. The Confederacy waited, breath held, for the retaliation that never came. It would have been easier if Earth had demanded something: territory, reparations, even blood. But humans didn't want territory. They wanted everyone to remember. And they would. The first strike was not announced. It arrived as a whisper, no explosion, no visible weapon. One moment, Serene Orbital Command was coordinating 26 defense satellites. The next, its systems went dark. Not destroyed. Just quiet. It took Admiral Vorden 12 minutes to understand that silence meant control. Human code had threaded its way through Serene firewalls like ink through water. No alarms, no traces. Every failsafe failed. Every override belonged now to someone else. And still, Earth said nothing. The Confederacy tried to downplay it. Glitches, they claimed. Electromagnetic interference. A rogue AI, maybe, until the satellites turned. Every one of them. Synchronized like dancers. And aimed inward. Vorden's fleet scrambled. Too late. Tungsten rods fell from low orbit, primitive, blunt instruments of force. No antimatter, no plasma, no forbidden technology. Just physics. And precision. The Serene High Citadel evaporated in silence. No debris. No fireball. Just erasure. The Confederacy broadcast pleas. Declarations of neutrality. They begged Earth to explain, to meet, to negotiate. But Earth didn't reply. Not with words. At 0400 Confederacy Standard Time, every Serene vessel in dry dock lifted off without authorization. Hijacked. Their crews locked out. The ships rose, hovered, and then one by one descended nose first into the oceans of their own world, vanishing beneath the waves like iron tombstones. "This isn't war," murmured Saravan Cal, watching the footage. "This is something else." In orbit above D. Rasha for a Naval Academy planet, human probes released a data packet into public relay. Inside, video logs. Maria Chun, smiling. Maria Chun, breaking bread with Serene children. Maria Chun, bleeding out on palace tiles while guards stepped over her body. The galaxy watched in silence as the death replayed across millions of screens. The context was gone. The debate ended. There was only the image now. A human, murdered by protocol. Vorden ordered the footage banned. Within hours, it was everywhere. No one was celebrating. Not even Earth. Human vessels moved with surgical intent. No civilian targets. No resource theft. No retaliation beyond the Serene. The Confederacy demanded a ceasefire, but Earth hadn't declared war. They never issued terms. They just acted. And when they were done, they left. No human soldiers occupied cities. No flags were raised. The only sign they had come was absence. Of power, of pride, of untouchability. One alien diplomat, watching the charred remains of a Serene fleet drift silently over an empty planet, said it best. "They fight like no one's watching, but they make sure everyone is." Vorden survived, physically. His command was shattered, his empire disgraced, and still Earth never spoke to him. No tribunals. No demands for surrender. Just silence. It was, in many ways, worse than death. Back in the Confederacy Hall, Leaders whispered behind closed doors. Not about revenge. That word had become dangerous. They spoke instead of respect, of containment, of understanding. But no one truly understood. Maria Chen's death hadn't sparked war. It had triggered revelation. Earth wasn't feared for its weapons. It was feared for what it valued, and what it would do when that value was violated. In the aftermath, as reconstruction efforts stuttered and the Confederacy tried to redefine normalcy, a new signal pulsed across neutral space. Simple. Direct. No code. No encryption. Just 5 words, spoken in every major galactic tongue. You killed one of ours. It wasn't a threat. It was a memorial. And a warning. Years later, they still told the story in hushed tones. Not because it was forbidden, but because it was sacred. In the halls of the Confederacy's most prestigious academy, Instructor Laren tapped the control slate, and the projection of Earth's retaliatory arc bloomed overhead. 12 red lines stretching across the stars, each one ending in silence. The students stared, some with awe, others with dread. "Can anyone tell me why there was no formal declaration?" Laren asked, eyes scanning the room. A Draylan cadet raised his clawed hand. "Because they didn't consider it war." "Correct," Laren nodded. "They considered it personal." That was the revelation that changed the galaxy, not the brutality, not the technology, not even the silence. It was the intent. Earth hadn't responded like a state. It had responded like a species betrayed. Sarevan Khaled tried to warn them. In his last speech before retirement, he said, "Humanity does not strike out of dominance. It strikes out of loss. And it never, ever forgets." No treaty had ever been signed. No formal reparations demanded. Earth offered no list of grievances, no closing argument. They simply removed the Serene as a threat and then removed themselves from the conversation. For months afterward, Earth ignored diplomatic channels. Its embassies remained closed. Its fleets retreated into their own space. The Confederacy, once a tangle of bold alliances and shifting interests, was left blinking at the void they left behind. A new caution settled over interspecies relations. Not fear, precisely, but mindfulness. The kind you show a creature that bleeds for its kin without hesitation. The name Maria Chin became a warning, a legend, and a lesson. Her family never gave interviews. Earth never hosted a memorial broadcast. And yet, on the anniversary of her death, candles appeared outside every embassy that once housed a human presence. Not just from Terrans. From every species who had witnessed the response and understood its meaning. You do not touch what humans love. Not unless you are prepared to burn for it. The Serene were a ghost civilization now. Not extinct, Earth had never targeted their civilians. But the cultural blow had gutted them. No empire can survive the collapse of its myth of invincibility. Their world still turned, their people still lived, but they no longer ruled. Vorthan vanished. Rumors claimed he lived out his days in exile on some fractured moon. Others whispered he'd taken his own life the moment Earth's ships disappeared from Serene orbit, knowing he'd been left alive only to endure. Of the 12 human ships that carried out Operation Requital, none were ever displayed, named, or celebrated. Their logs were sealed. Their crews never came forward. Not a single medal was awarded. Humanity didn't want praise. They wanted memory. Laren closed the projection. You'll encounter many species in your career. Some will value profit. Others, order. Some, conquest. But only one has shown us what happens when you mistake love for weakness. Silence followed. In the back row, a young cadet raised her hand. Will Earth ever rejoin the Confederacy? Laren considered the question. He thought of the coffins drifting in space, the silence of human lips even as the galaxy begged for understanding, and the phrase that had spread from fringe channels to law schools, to codebooks, to prayer halls. Never kill just one human. They already have, he said finally. Just not in the way we expected.